Life is so busy. If you blink, you can miss something amazing. It's important to take a moment and enjoy what we have and the people around us. I'm Mo Hagan, Chief Operating Officer for CanFit Pro, and welcome to A Moment with Mo, a podcast where I will welcome some incredible guests to talk fitness and nutrition, mindset and self-empowerment, setting our goals into action, and much, much more. Now let's get chatting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode, A Moment with Mo. I'm Mo Hagan, your host, guiding you through thought-provoking conversations on health, wellness, personal, and professional development and growth. My mission is to move people and spark positive global change. And about a decade ago is when I discovered my why, my true purpose that guides me on everything that I do today. And I'm really all about helping others do the same. And I believe that's my true calling, helping others find their purpose, unlock their true potential through fitness, through movement, and also through career development. So today we're here to discuss a really special topic with a very, very incredible guest. And I want to share a little bit about how this has come to be. And it is really part of my purpose. As some of you may know, but some of you may not, that in addition to being a certified fitness professional, I'm a licensed physiotherapist, and I have been since 1987. And while I do not practice in the clinical setting, I maintain my license to practice, and I am a member of the Canadian Physiotherapy Association. My passion for human movement began at a very young age. As a kid, I was very accident prone, and I was introduced to physical therapy very early in life. So I grew up fascinated about how the body moves, how we jump, how we run, how we perform everyday activities, and more importantly, how we rehabilitate back to our full potential after injury or illness. And what I want to say before I go any further is my curiosity about human motion and how we move and perform to move our best, feel our best, and be our best really is what led me to pursue a degree first in physical health education and then in physiotherapy. And I share that because it really set the foundation for my dream career, which is now in the fitness industry. And what I love about the fitness industry is no matter where you start or what you bring into the fitness industry, the career is what we build throughout our life journey and experience. But we all start somewhere, and then it's the personal and professional development, knowing our purpose, therefore understanding why you exist is, I could say, your lighthouse or your guide that helps you along your life journey. And, it was about a decade ago that I enlisted the help of a coach myself. And that coach was really someone that helped me deeply reflect on my life journey and my career path thus far. And it was then I uncovered my why. So now every day I wake up knowing why I exist, what I do, tying it back to my why, with the ultimate goal is to help to move people and to help them really embark on their true purpose so they can spark the same excitement in what they do for their own personal and professional satisfaction, but really so they can move others forward in their journey, in their profession. So all that to be said, I'm super excited about today's conversation. And it is with someone that I've had the opportunity to meet and work with at CanFit Pro and out in the industry. So I am so excited. His work is a testament to the power of movement in transforming lives, and his approach aligns perfectly with my lifelong passion in the physical rehabilitation space and human performance space. So let's welcome to the show, Dr. Joel Kerr. And here he comes.
Thank you, Mo. Listen, I really enjoyed listening to your introduction for multiple reasons. And the main reason was that our relationship, our connection is in line with your personal path in your career. Like everything that you just said about what you are focusing on now is how we got to meet each other and how I look at you as a mentor in my life now and in my path in my career. So I really appreciate you. More has nothing to do with this podcast and the time that we're going to spend together, but I just appreciate your true honesty. And I know that I could pick up the phone and give you a call, drop you an email, and you make time for me, and I really do appreciate that. So I wanted to start with that first. You are a true testament to everything that you just said with regards to um, your path, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. And we're on a path together because you have a lot as you're embarking on a new avenue of your journey. And I can't wait to uncover that for our guests and viewers today. For those who haven't met Dr. Joel Kerr, or as he is more famously known as Dr. J, and I'd love you, Dr. J, to share a little bit about that. But first of all, I'm going to introduce you formally because you deserve that for those who haven't had the opportunity to meet and work with you. And by the end of this podcast, you'll have a reason to want to reach out and learn more about Dr. J, his work and his new journey, as well as to learn a little bit about where you can find him next, where we'll be working together later in the summer. So Dr. J is a manual medicine clinician in chiropractic and neurofunctional acupuncture, as well as a performance coach focused on lower limb injury mitigation and performance enhancement. Co-founder and lead instructor at BASE, Building an Athletic Structure for Exercise. He has over 15 years of experience working with professional athletes. Dr. J is the lead trainer for the Brampton Honey Badgers, Canadian Elite Basketball League, as well as the director of sports science for the Dr. J. Addison Ontario Scholastic Basketball Association program. No wonder your name's Dr. J, Dr. J. And you recently obtained your certified strength and conditioning coaching certification. Dr. J is a member of CanFit Pro's advisory committee. He educates fitness professionals on the vital role of foot and ankle health in performance and injury mitigation. So in this episode, we're going to dive into our shared passion. You've heard a little bit about our shared passion for training that goes beyond, and this is the part that I so admire about your work, is beyond the aesthetics, focusing on movement quality, injury prevention, and preparing for the demands of daily life. And I just want to say, Dr. J, before I throw it over to you for your philosophy on this, is I believe the best sport of all is life. And that's what we're training for. So over to you. Before we start, I do have questions about everything that those viewing and watching, especially if they come from healthcare, the fitness industry, especially if they're trying to bridge the gap between what they're currently doing and what they want to move into as far as specialization. Tell us about your journey thus far, and do share light about how you came to be known as Dr. J.
Wow, that was a start for me when I knew that I was going to pursue a career in chiropractic, manual medicine. I wanted to combine passion or a love of movement, and the movement that I enjoyed playing and watching was basketball. And one of the basketball athletes that I admired in terms of his mannerisms, his charisma, and obviously his play was the great Dr. J. I mean, I'm most likely aging and dating myself by talking about him. For the young folks out there who may not know who Dr. J is, but he was the guy before even Michael Jordan and before Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Um, so that, in my mind, I envisioned myself being the person within the community, in the basketball community, that athletes would come to see for injury management and sports performance training. And what I decided to do was provide myself with a nickname that was in line with that aspiration. on top of the fact that my first name is Joel, and I despise when people call me Joel, so it just
Oh,
fit that I could
wow.
just create a short version of
That is
my name,
powerful
and
for so
it
many
stuck.
reasons,
And
not
that
to
is
mention
who I am known
it
within the
really does
community. And
identify
I
you
was
in
blessed
terms
to
of
meet
your
the
why
basketball
and
player, Dr.
purpose for
J,
what you do every
a
day.
couple
And it
years
really
ago at a
just,
golf
I would
charity
imagine every
event.
time you
And
either introduce
my
yourself or
hands are
hear
pretty
your
big. I
name,
think they're pretty
it
big, but his hands,
edifies,
like
again,
like
your
engulf
purpose and your
mine when I shook it.
contribution, which then,
I'll actually find that picture,
keeps you
Mo, and
on
I'll send it over
course
to
or
you because
on
it's
path
quite
to what your
remarkable.
true purpose is
But that's the
in
story of how
serving
I got
your
my name.
community, serving the industries that you serve, and also reminding you that what you do is right on point with your name. I mean, it couldn't be any better than that. And I can relate to names, but yours is even better. I'm known as Mighty Mo. It's on my license plate, and people ask me where I get my energy. So my mom gave me that name in university, which, yeah, that has a story in itself, but it's always stuck. So that's cool. That's something new that I have learned about you. And that's one of the reasons I absolutely love to take these moments to have conversations
Yes,
on this show, A Moment with Mo. So we're here
absolutely.
with Dr. J, and I'm going to dive in, Dr. J, and ask you a question about base. It was in your introduction. I'd love you to, the base is built on the philosophy of functional movement. Oh, what I love the most, and real life performance. Can you share with us the core principles of your approach and how they apply to everyone, not just athletes?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yes. And I'm really happy that you ended with that last statement. I don't want anyone to think that the thought process and delivery of care that we are creating at base is only for athletes. It's not just for basketball players. It's for any individual who is active, who has been blessed to have both feet and have full limbs that are moving, that are trying to run, that are trying to lift weights, that are playing a sport. So it is a thought process that we want to be able to share with performance coaches. I like using the term manual medicine clinician, and that is just a broad terminology for anyone who has a designation of a chiropractor, a physiotherapist, a chiropodist, podiatrist, massage therapist, AT, basically anyone who works with humans to try and make them move faster, more efficiently. And just taking it back to 2017, when I was in practice, I was seeing a lot of young student athletes, some professional athletes, come into my clinical space with lower limb complaints that were chronic in nature that they've sustained 6 months plus, and it wasn't getting any better. They were seeing other practitioners in other disciplines, and it seemed like they were just going through a generic protocol of manual therapy and or exercise prescription with minimal results. And they got referred to me, and at some point, either through another practitioner or a medical doctor. And my approach, honestly, was just really from the ground up, looking at how the ankle moved in terms of its range of motion, passive and dynamically, and just trying to clean and assess that. I feel like if you can think back to when we were in school, that first class, that first year, there were certain concepts that were glossed over, that were really rushed through, and they were the basics. And it was the range of motions, it was the planes of motion, and those concepts. If you don't have a good, pardon me with the pun, foundation and an understanding from the ground up, it makes it very challenging for you to treat the rest of the body, the rest of the kinetic chain. So that's the real groundbreaking, another pun for you, um, philosophy that we really built base off of. We want to take the simplicity of examination. We want to make simple examinations for this part of the body. In addition to the fact that it is a complex uh, limb, meaning that
Mm-hmm. You're
everything
taking me
is
back to
communicating
physiotherapy school,
with each
Dr.
other
J.
to
I
allow
was
us
so
to
blessed
stand, to
to
allow us to
work
move,
with such
allow us
great
to jump and run
practitioners.
fast. But if
And
we really take an
while they were
outside approach and we
academics, they
start with
were
the
also
basics,
good
which is range of
practitioners,
motion
and they
and
really
planes of
believed in the
motion,
similar
we can get a lot of
concept.
information
I'm,
of how we
English
can
trained,
address certain parts
so which I love
of
too,
that part of the
because
body
where
and
I
address
tend to
certain types of
present
injuries that are
my
occurring in that area
functional
as well.
work movement sessions over the years are in
Absolutely.
countries also my favorite, but also English trained. So there was a great common language, but totally makes sense. And we underestimate the value of trainers and clinicians and um, manual medicine practitioners like yourself and myself, because often, we don't get in there at the very beginning. I can think of many situations, especially in my family, because when you're in the family, you can't treat family, but you try and they don't listen, or they listen after they've gone through the heartaches of other approaches. But I used to always have this philosophy as, feet first. That was always my thing, because I needed it simple in my mind to
Mhm.
remember philosophies and practical protocols. But most of the time it was because I was flipping injured as a kid, and they'd always treat the injury, but not the cause. And there was an instability there because it started when I was born, the way I walked. And so when they finally fixed the feet, or started with the ground and adjusted for that, everything else corrected itself. So giving a shout out to my mother in heaven, because she was a nurse. She actually realized that things weren't functioning properly from the way that my feet were to fit into shoes. So, you're really bringing back to those days, and also reminding me why I was so curious and ended up in physiotherapy school. I did get accepted into chiropractic college, just so you know, all in the same year. Oh no, not smart, just lucky that that was the year they were looking for people like myself that were so ambitious to get into school. I did everything, and I'll tell you my secret, everybody. I actually was a graduate from another degree, so you get in a little different class of interviews. You get an interview, not just marks. I sold them on
Amazing.
the interview, not my marks. But on that
Smart
note,
young
we're going to
lady.
move on.
I love it.
Um, you have a brand new partnership, Dr. J. I love it because it's with George Brown College. I love that
Mhm.
college for so many reasons. One being how practical their work is and their education. And this is a huge step in shaping the next generation of fitness professionals. So,
Mhm.
what can trainers expect to gain from this continuing education program? And how does it elevate their skills? And maybe you can expand on that to talk about your base program as well for the fitness industry. Feel
Yes.
free.
But first and foremost, need to thank George Brown College's continuing education program for the collaboration. I cannot express to you how ecstatic I am to have the support of one of actually, it is the oldest college in the city of Toronto, the first one. And I cannot express to you how much support that we've gotten with this partnership. And secondly, I want to highlight the fact that the base is a continuing education program for professionals. So yes, it is being held at George Brown, but we do require our participants to be within one of the healthcare field designations and or a personal trainer within a recognized governing body, CanFit Pro, the NSCA, CSEP. These are the affiliations that we've created that will allow trainers and coaches to obtain the necessary clinical education credits that they need annually. Now, going back to the idea of providing these details to support trainers and manual medicine clinicians. So every time a patient comes into our space, they obviously have goals of what they want. Sometimes it could be weight loss. Sometimes it could be that they want to run a marathon. They want to start weight training. All of those goals, guess what? They involve the lower limb and the foot. So my team and I are constantly thinking about ways for us to deliver our information in chunkable, digestible pieces so that it will support what the trainer, the manual medicine clinician is already doing. We just want to ensure that the pieces of the content is in line with the base of knowledge that they have. And that is one of the main principles of BASE. It's not to make you think that your education was inadequate. It is not to think that your personal training accreditation wasn't sufficient, but it's to bridge the gap between what you know and what is clinically in front of you. And that's the most important part. Like, we should not be, as healthcare professionals, be using a cookie cutter approach. Everyone is different. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different wants, and physiologically, everyone is different. So as a result, the person in front of you needs to have an assessment that fits their needs. And just going back to something that you said, Mo, with regards to your own personal journey and story with regards to your health, like, your mother did you a great service by recognizing and realizing that some of the biomechanical issues that you had was coming from your feet. And there really is only two types of quote unquote feet or foot mechanics. It's either stiff or mobile. And depending on the type of foot that you have will determine what type of intervention that you need. It sounded like you had a stiffer foot, which
You're
means you
correct.
needed more support, right? And again, I did not assess you way back when, but I just made that assessment just from what we were
What I
communicating
said.
about,
Huh.
right? And these are the little clinical notes and gems that I want to be able to guide my fellow manual medicine clinicians and my performance coaches and support their growth so that they can provide the best form of intervention for their patient base.
Oh, we have something else in common. The reason I decided to go from physiotherapy, which was my full-time dream career since I was 6, to move full-time into the fitness industry was to bridge the gap. And I wanted to bring more knowledge and elevate the quality of education in the fitness industry space. Back then, the quality was watching a Jane Fonda video or, reading a book on how to run. Like, that's all that was available to us. We didn't have the, availability of what we see today in front of us, but it was to bridge the gap. And that is something you just mentioned, which again connects us I knew there was a reason I liked you so much. We think the same, and you're very practical, and I love that. And thank you, because you're doing exactly what the reason I'm here in the fitness industry 45 years later or on is because I want to see opportunities for fitness professionals to be recognized as fitness professionals, to have expertise beyond the basics, meet them where they're at and then elevate them, but also give them opportunities to see the potential for more education that they can then pursue, such as taking your course and coming in with those credentials. So thank you for recognizing CanFit Pro as one of those prerequisites to taking your course at George Brown College or wherever else they can find your course and your training. We're so grateful because trainers who want to differentiate themselves, as well as I would imagine manual medicine clinicians, they want to differentiate themselves, needs your training. And, so that's something that I'm going to perhaps ask you when we close the show in a few minutes about what do you see for the future of the fitness industry and what that means for next steps that you would advise. But before I ask you that question, I want to ask you the following. You worked with so many elite athletes and as well as everyday individuals alike. What are the biggest movement mistakes you see? And how can people train smarter to prevent injury and perform better in the daily life, the sport of daily life?
Great question. I really like this question, mainly because this is going to give the participants and the listeners out there a real snapshot of how the base course is laid out specifically. So I just want to just give a lay of the land in terms of the course. So the course is 5 modules over 4 weekends. And this is a deliberate, intentional decision. And if anyone has taken courses before, they're typically over 1 weekend. The first 2 days are fun. You get to do some intermingling and networking, learning. But then that last day, dependent upon how much networking and connections that were made, the presenter or the organization is trying to fire through 100 plus slides because that's the content that everyone signed up for. So intentionally, we chose to run and educate our participants over 4 weekends, 5 modules. That first module is about scanning the literature with regards to the foot and lower limb. The second one is taking a look at the evolution of gait and the foot and ankle. The third module is on the anatomical structures of the lower limb. And I'm just going to say this outright, looking dead centered to the camera. If you are a manual medicine clinician, a performance coach, a personal trainer, or any of the designations that I said above, if you do not have a strong command of anatomy, I am really unsure of what it is that you're trying to influence if you are guessing. There should not be any guessing when you are working with a client and you're trying to support them to run faster and you are unsure of what extensors and flexors muscles need to be engaged either eccentrically, concentrically. I can't stress how important it is for you to know your anatomy. Okay, so that's the third module that we will be covering. That fourth module, biomechanics, and the last, which is the most sexy and what everybody wants to know, is the exercise prescription. Left that one to the end deliberately again because we didn't want to just show you a bunch of exercises on the first 2 days of the weekend and then try and practice them on Sunday. And then you're going to go into your clinical space or your gym and you try to mimic those movements. We want you to have a full understanding. And the only way that you can do that is by looking at the literature, looking at the development, looking at the anatomy, and looking at the biomechanics of how that part of the body moves. Okay, so that is something I really wanted to highlight first and foremost.
Good for you. Thank you.
Right, super important. And then I also wanted to touch base on the mediums. You mentioned the Jane Fonda videos and the VHSs. That was the medium for our healthcare colleagues and professionals to get their information. Mm-hmm. Now it's at our hands. It's with Instagram. It's with TikTok. And I'm not going to be that old guy on the soapbox saying, oh, when back in my day and saying that the social media is terrible. But I am going to say that it just gives you a snapshot, doesn't give you an understanding. And I wrestled with the development of this course and listen, not everyone's gone through this in terms of imposter syndrome, wondering, why should I do this? Will anyone listen? Am I good enough? Am I good enough educator? And the reason why I had those moments is because of social media and because of the easy access that people can just type in something, best foot exercises for volleyball players, and a list of stuff will come through. And then you can just literally copy it. And there's your learning. Now, if you're a person like myself, you love puzzles, you love solving puzzles, love using your critical thinking and your coach's eye, BASE is a perfect course for you because we're going to support that type of learning. So it all depends on the type of healthcare professional that you want to be. And when I am at the CanFit Pro Global Conference, when I'm standing in front of my audience of fellow colleagues, that's the first thing I say to them. I say, listen, I don't care if you are a group trainer. I don't care if you're Pilates, personal trainer, strength and conditioning. You are a healthcare professional. You potentially see your patient way more often and have a better relationship than their medical doctor, if they are so lucky to have one in this province. This is a whole nother story. You got to take it seriously. You have to take it seriously that you are going to recognize if somebody is under a lot of stress, and you're going to recognize if somebody is having high blood pressure, a potential stroke symptoms, or any type of sensation in their feet, which is early signs of some form of chronic disease. You are a healthcare professional. You need to be aware. You need to be astute, and you need to know your stuff. And it starts with educating yourself correctly, not frivolously. And that's my rant about social media for the day.
Yeah, I love it. You heard it here with Dr. J on this episode. You are a healthcare professional. And that is my living legacy. Someone said to me, Mo, what do you see or what are you hoping to achieve during your time in the fitness industry? And I said, well, I might think of retirement once we see that fitness professionals are seen and respected as healthcare professionals, a member of the healthcare professional team. And you'd heard it here. I absolutely appreciate that. And I thank you for that boldness in saying that, because we need to be bold in order to be seen and recognized and respected. And that is the future of the fitness industry and every profession that works in the area of healthcare. And we can sure use as many healthcare professionals today more than ever before. I loved what you said about the fact that, and this is what, if you're not listening, this, really listening to this, then you're going to miss the point. And if you are really listening, you should feel a little you should feel very self-reflective in that, am I giving it my all in terms of my
Mhm.
goal or my ambition to be as well educated as I can be, because
Mhm.
our clients rely on us more than sometimes their doctor. And so,
Mhm.
or they're not getting the answers from their doctors. So they're coming looking for help from us because they see how we can help people move and live their best quality life. So this is,
Absolutely.
um, this is a very important moment. And I would think one of the biggest highlights in my entire Moment with Mo podcast series up to this date. So you truly are a gift to my listeners. And I thank you for that. I do want to ask you, we've had such an insightful conversation, and I'm sure those listening from your community, from my community, and from those who find the show will, be curious about, training for real life performance. And you know, are they doing their best to serve their clients and their members? So if I'm a healthcare professional, physiotherapist, chiro, massage therapist, fitness professional, instructor, PT, and I want to explore working with you, how would be the best way to learn about whether it's your partnership at George Brown or working with you in other avenues that you're offering your base training at?
Well, my email address is info@basesupports.ca. That is definitely a great way to connect with me. Also, my Instagram handle should be on the screen. You can contact if you're interested in the course. Obviously, that is something that we're looking to have our first cohort start in May of this spring. You can find out the course details at Base Supports on IG as well. I did lapse in my rant, and I just wanted to revert back to the question that you did ask. I don't want to be a politician. I apologize to everyone out there. You did ask, how does one support and make sure that they are achieving their fitness and training goals,
Mhm.
and to ensure that they don't reduce or, excuse me, increase their chances of injury and limit their performance. So, in the course and in our philosophy, we are big advocates for training in all planes. And if you think about it, in module 2, we talk about the development of gait and the overall lower limb. Majority of our structures that keep us in an erect position is responsible for flexion and extension. So they're typically on the front end of the body or the back end of the body, which is in the sagittal plane, which is that movement. Most exercise prescription is prescribed in that plane, sagittal in the sagittal plane, mainly flexion and
Mhm.
extension. Your big muscles, your big compound movements. There are rotational components within those movements. However, as a manual medicine clinician and as a performance coach, or as a coaches, you have to ensure that you're prescribing movements in the other two planes. And one of our workshops, Mo, that we conducted leading up to the course launch in May, like I mentioned, put out a simple poll. And I said to the practitioners, and we had a range from physiotherapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, some trainers and kinesiologists within the space. And I said, how many of you have a strong understanding of the body planes? And only one out of the 15 people that were
Oh,
in the audience knew. That told me a lot, right? Because that means that the rest of the team, they generally are approaching their treatment protocols, dynamic and passive, in the plane that they know, which is the sagittal plane. So guess what will happen? when that person is doing a movement that requires them to move in, say, the transverse plane or the frontal plane, the body is going to say, hello, I don't know what this is, where this is. I think I'm just going to either rip, crack, or pop. And that's
Yeah.
literally how an injury happens.
Yeah.
Because the amount of force that is being put through the body in that plane, the body just says, I can't handle this.
Mm.
And it has every right to do that. You think about any other part of your life. If you don't put any attention to it, guess what will happen? You'll feel neglected, and then it will yell at you. Any aspect of your life. Think about that, folks.
It's true.
So that is the type of conversation and information that we are going to present to you
Mm.
within this course. And right now, as I mentioned, George Brown Continuing Education um, website, as well as our own, is where you can sign up and get some more details. If you have any more questions, listen, I'll put my phone number out there right now, 416-579-0623. I'm always available to talk shop. Love this stuff. Love being a foot and ankle nerd. Call me whatever you want. But it's all about this part of my journey, which is to try to educate as many healthcare professionals, manual medicine clinicians, performance coaches, trainers about how to become. Listen, I just remember the last day of graduating, and I remember the professor saying, "You are all now competent chiropractors." And I'm like, "What the heck? Who wants to be competent at anything? I don't want to be
Yeah.
competent. That is such an insult." So let's breeze that. We're not pushing for competency. I want you to be the best version of yourself, and the best version of yourself is having a good understanding of what the foot and ankle is doing when you're prescribing that lunge, that squat, that mile run, whatever it is that you are into in terms of your movement. You got to know what the foot and ankle is doing at all times.
Love it. You heard it here with Dr. J. On my graduating day, I heard this is just the beginning of your lifelong learning journey. So good luck.
Good.
But I love that because I can't just sit still in my knowledge. I mean, that's why I'm in this very, very dynamic industry of the fitness industry. And I have to say, one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone would come up to me in a training and say, well, so and so told me that if you did crunches this way, that's how you got results. And I would say, well, when did you learn that? And they'd say, oh, that was like 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, honey, or please, that's 5 years ago. It changed like 4 years ago. And again and again and again. I mean, that's why we're in this it's never a finish line. It's always working towards the next finish line. You said it so beautifully. And I think, Dr. J, we had a great segue to my last question before we wrap up. You really talked about where medical medicine, manual medicine clinicians, when you surveyed them about where the planes they train in or their capacity to understanding all planes of movement. I wanted to ask you this from a coach client perspective. Perhaps there are some clients or fitness enthusiasts listening to this show and they're wondering, they're struggling with their training, they're feeling stuck, or they could possibly be inspired to take their movement into rehabilitation or into fitness. They're unsure how to start. What would be the one key piece of advice you'd give them? Anyone struggling with their training, feeling stuck or unsure where to start or how to start? One piece of advice.
Ask for help. And that is with the practitioner, the healthcare professional, the coach, clinician. Ask for help. For the client, for the patient, ask for help. It doesn't change. And if the person that you're asking is not able to provide you with the details that you need, they should hopefully be honest enough with you to say, hey, you know what, I'm not sure about this. And that is why BASE is around. We want to be that resource for the healthcare professional, clinician, performance coach, the trainer, to be able to provide the details to support you. We want to create what we call a home base of manual medicine clinicians, performance coaches, and trainers that are interested in learning and being the best version of themselves so you can help that person. I know everyone is on the hustle and on the grind. They want to keep their clients to themselves and they want to make that money. I get it.
Mhm.
But if you're not providing your patient and your clients with the support that they need for their health, you're doing them a disservice. Okay. And that's not fair. And that's something that I stress, and that's something that I stress with my team now, where in their clinical practice, if there's an area that they are unfamiliar with and their patient needs additional care, you would refer them. You would refer them to another healthcare practitioner, because that's what a responsible clinician does. Cannot be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And right now, our focus is the foot and ankle. We know it. We know the intricacies of it. We know the passive, dynamic, and neurological structures that are involved. And if you are noticing some plateauing in your patient, that you may need some assistance, BASE is for you. So reach out, connect,
That's
take that step
amazing.
forward.
Thank you. And if
Absolutely.
you reached a plateau in your training and your professional development, and you see opportunities to really stand out in your community as that expert, then you might just want to reach out to Dr. J and find out more about BASE and how you can add
Absolutely.
that to your repertoire. And so with that, we will close this up. I appreciate you so much, Dr. J. That's been so insightful, and you really, sparked some great memories for me and remind me why I'm here today doing what I do and the journey that I've had, and why I still remain a licensed physiotherapist today, because it holds me with great credentials. There is great responsibility to always be learning to stay, relevant and credible in your certification, in your credentials. So that means always be learning and always be looking for what's next for you and for your clients, for your patients. And so, to everyone listening, again, thank you, Dr. J. It was such informative. And remember, too, everyone, and if you're not inspired to move, then remember your body is meant to move. And when you train for real life performance, you really do unlock true potential, and that does help you lead to true performance in all areas of your life. So I'm going to say, keep moving with purpose, and I'll see you next time. Dr. J, how would you like to sign off? I'm going to give the last word to you.
I'm going to first and foremost thank you for allowing me to engage with you on this platform. And as I mentioned from the top, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your availability to me and being a mentor to me. Um, like I said, I feel so blessed to have you on this path of my journey. And for everyone else out there that is within this beautiful industry that we are in, that we will never get replaced by robots. There will always be a human connection and understanding. You don't take this profession for granted. Continue learning. I would love to see you be a part of our home base and take our course. And please don't hesitate to reach out. Ask as many questions. I don't charge for questions. Please connect with me on social at Instagram and or email and or my phone number. Provided all those details. So don't forget to reach out, 416-579-0623, info at basesupports.ca, at basesupports.ca as well. Take care.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you in August at CanFit Pro Global, Dr. J, and hopefully all of you. And until then, I know Dr. J and I will be texting back and forth, because that's what we do,
That's what we
sharing with
do.
each other, the hottest, the latest new things, or just helping each other out. So do that for each other, and connect with Dr. J or myself. And until next time, keep moving.